Hey guys, it's me, Kelly. Oh my gosh, can you hear the wind outside? It's like whistling. That is like crazy wind out there. Oh my gosh, it's about to blow some stuff off. I've got security cameras over here watching. Okay, we got Barry here. Of course, stuff is going to start happening, I'm sure, during the show. It always does. We'll see if we get helicopters this time. But we have Barry Littleton back. You guys, he is one of the most requested guest that I've ever had on the show. You guys just love him. And then after the show, you go and find him and you can't leave him alone. And poor Barry, when he first started this, he was just very shy and I don't know if I want to talk about it. And now Barry's just in the spotlight. He's got his own YouTube channel and you guys have got to go subscribe and see what's going on with the Barry. So without further ado, and oh, Barry, by the way, sorry. I've got my black velvet tourmaline. We'll see if we can keep everything away. But here is Barry Littleton. So, where is he? Where'd you go? Barry?
You not see me?
I can see. There you are. There you are. Okay. It's already started. It's already started. So say hello, Barry.
Hello. Hello. How's everybody doing? Salutations. Boy, last time we talked, it was a trip. And I thought maybe we could alleviate that this time. And I see something weird is starting to happen right now, technically wise. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll find out. All I have here, I don't hear any helicopters. We've got lots of wind. Maybe they'll keep the helicopters out of the air. We'll find out. Let's say, hello, Kelly. I cannot get through today, Jennifer. Jennifer, you just got through. Let's see. Love you too. Jennifer, it has not started yet. Aw, they're taking care of each other in the comments. That's so sweet. I love my peeps. They're awesome. So what have you been up to since we talked last?
You know, just trying to kind of maintain, trying to keep things going forward, keeping aware the most part, observing really what this kind of shift, what this awakening of consciousness that we're going through actually is. You know what I mean? It's not what I thought it would be. I don't think it is what anybody thought, but it's been interesting nonetheless, you know? Something I would say, just to start this off, because I've been noticing it, and the amount of people that are coming out and speaking about anything that is kind of knowledge-based, the amount of personal attacks they're taking. I've seen you take them. Yes. I started taking some since the last time we talked, and I'm seeing others getting attacked too. And I mean, it's becoming to a deal of people pretending to be who they are not, infiltrating, giving disinformation, pretenders, a lot of hate going on. And just the comments alone you see on some of these YouTube videos it's outrageous. I mean, the amount of, whether it be racial, sexual, whatever, the tension and the horrible things that are said, it's like, whoa, sometimes if you don't vibrate with what somebody's saying, that's fine, move on, you know? By no means, there's 1,000 realities for every individual on this planet, 1 billion. So in that way, if what I say or what you're saying or other people doesn't resonate, move on to somebody that does. There's no reason to hate. That's taking it too far.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Like if they don't want some of Barry's chocolate love, you know, they just need to get back on the train and leave. Because Barry's full of love, aren't you, Barry?
You're funny.
Barry loves everyone. Yeah, I saw that racial comment. I was like, really? Really? Where did this come from?
I mean, I haven't taken as much as many, I think. I've gotten a lot of, for the first time since I've started this YouTube channel, I can see the comments on here from these interviews for the first time. And the amount of positive comments, I say thank to everybody. I mean, they're overwhelming compared to that, you know. But there's a few to everybody that creeps in, attacks just general people. They're in there just to attack general people that are disseminating information, you know. And what I like saying is, right now, I of course can't prove anything that has happened to me that I've experienced. And number two, as of right now, I have nothing to sell, so I'm in no way trying to, you know what I mean, push that on a solicitation. But some weird things that are far out that happened to me, and I was born awake, and I'll try to help others if I could, because I didn't think that was possible outside of the career I had, the profession I had chosen, you know. I didn't think that was possible. So I say thank you to you and everybody who's helped with that. It's really blown me away. to be quite honest.
Well, we thank you for being on the show and talking about stuff that people don't talk about, that they really need to hear, because people are experiencing this. And from me doing alien implant removals, this is so needed, this information for people just to know what's going on. This is so much bigger than people even realize. When I do the multiverse healing and beyond, I need to change the name because that just sounds so silly. but I take people on a journey outside, first of all, the solar system, outside of the galaxy, then outside of the universe. Then I take them outside of the omniverse, where they see there are more, the multiverses, where they see that like there's more multiverses. And then we go outside the omniverse into what I call not a human cell, but a cell that we're inside of. So inside the cell, we travel through a lot of stuff. There's a craft inside of the cell that basically governs everything that goes on in the omniverse, governs and manages it and produces things for it. Then you get outside of that, excuse me, you get outside of that. And, you know, and all of this, you're like, where's God in any of this? Because it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And God is theoretically the biggest thing that we can see, right? It's God is supposed to be everything, and I keep going past what everybody's saying God is, but we get way out there, and I see where you've got a very negative influence inside of this matrix. That is, you can call it evil if you want to, evil, bad, corruption, war, concepts like that do not exist outside of the matrix, in my experience. And all the ones that I've taken on this journey, we don't experience anything like that out there. So it gives you an idea of where this black goo comes from, where this liquid metal comes from, because there are other things that happen that light beings or others from outside the universe come in and handle when we're about to blow ourselves up or do something catastrophic on this planet. They come in. So there's so much depth to this, and also the control that they have over everyone, not only with these implants that they were born with. Oh, Barry, since I talked to you last, I removed the implants from a baby. And now I've done it with 2 babies after the workshop. Dwayne is here. Dwayne Hartman is here. And we're going to be talking about the workshop that we just did in Dallas. And the babies I see 4 implants, and they all look alike. I expected them to look like tiny versions of what I see in the adults, but they look completely different. And there's 4 of them, and like a 5th thing. The 5th thing is different, and it's something golden in some shape or form. It's either in a triangle or a sphere, but it's something golden in there. And that's typically from source, and I cannot move it. It's from source putting it there. So anyway, a lot going on, Barry.
No, that's good to hear. Because to be honest with you, the first part of what you were saying was part of the disconcerting thing I'm talking about. Last time we had discussed really a type of scalar implantation, which means really they're tagging your soul before you incarnate here. And then as you incarnate, the more you get programmed, the more you get your awareness gets molded by this 3rd dimensional awareness, this program. The more you get molded, the easier it becomes, all right, for these implants to start manifesting physically on the scalar level.
Okay.
And when we start reading, that take us really into the whole discussion of artificial intelligence. And that is really where this is going. Everybody, AI. You remember back in the 80s, there was a couple of movies called AI, and everybody tripped out on it and just kind of went away. No one talked about it anymore, except for maybe the Terminator and things like that, which I think sometimes in looking for a frame of reference, using certain movies are very good. And that would be one, the Terminator, what they called Skynet, which is little more than what could be our internet now.
Okay.
Does it have an amount of sentience? Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm veering off. But going back kind of to the black goo thing, let's examine that in terms of nanotechnology, all right? Like nano diamonds, things of that nature, and sentient artificial intelligence in that way. Now, what you need is going to what it needed here on Earth as a host, all right? And that takes me to something I talked to with, actually, Annette Lemur had brought this to my attention, and I think she's correct. And I contemplated it before, but didn't really stop and think about it. unrefined oil is sentient.
Mm-hmm.
The earth is sentient, but the unrefined oil that comes from the earth is sentient. And it's inactive until it gets in the field of human consciousness. Then it becomes active. All right. Now, when you take that in terms of something I'm into, which is the melanin thing, all right, I'm a melanin dominant person. I've used that to enhance my past life memories and my life. All right. So I speak of it frequently, but melanin dominance individuals have been enslaved on this planet. And oil would be the most melanin dominant sentient being.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that.
And if you look at it, it produces energy. It is enslaved. All right. It is trapped. And that is a type of war. And it would be easy for any type of artificial intelligence coming here on that nano scale aspect to actually choose oil as a host and give that field of energy. So we're talking about self-activating software and machines,
Okay.
self-activating things, self-activating consciousness. All right. And when you look at things like, oh gosh, the BP oil spill, and when they were
that was bad.
Yeah, when they were actually cleaning that up, didn't it look like they were spreading it? And it looked almost more like
It did, didn't it? It looked like they were trying to make it worse.
And it takes like what, 1 quart of oil to contaminate like 20,000 gallons of drinking water or something like that. Anyway, there's a definite problem there with two parts of Earth there. You know what I mean? So but to me, it seems like a being that is upset was released. And that whole deal was very odd to me. And you start having these black goo things, there's a certain type of fungus now, and it's not radiotropic, but it's appearing on fish and things like that. And these are things that seem to not be being talked about enough, you know? So anyway, just going back to the black goo thing, that's my understanding of it, all right? That it has chosen oil as its host to become activating consciousness. So you've got a symbiotic relationship there. Food for thought. That's all I'll put out there. You know what I mean?
Okay, you're talking self-activating artificial intelligence. Okay, let me know if I'm on the right track with this, because things have been happening during these alien implant removals, and I don't quite understand why this has happened. When I started doing them, I had heard somebody tell me that they were seeing black goo and like liquid metal with this kind of octopus type being with it, though it's black with it. When I first started doing the alien implant removals, I saw it on everybody and I removed it. Then when I changed my method for removing implants and I changed the shield, I never saw it again, ever. I did not see any of the liquid goo or that black goo or the liquid metal at all. And I kind of thought, oh my gosh, did I do that to them? Just thinking about it, did I put those implants in them, or did I do that? I'm trying to figure out what happened, because when I changed, like I said, I changed my shield and I changed the way that I did this. And then I felt bad. I'm like, did I give this to everybody? Because luckily I can see and I can get rid of it. And then I created a different way of removing the alien implants so that you get stuff that you can't see, that you don't even know is there. I do that also. So what was going on was I mean, it almost felt like, when you're doing Reiki and you implant people with stuff, that's almost what it felt like. Like I was causing this. I was causing them to get implanted. So what do you know about that?
Well, I would think that it's probably what you're perceiving is correct. I mean, your first assumption, and number two, you did an action, an intent of will that yielded results. So I would say what you were thinking and doing is correct. I have heard by a couple of people that are more specialized in that I don't deal with that, but that these tentacles that tend to be coming out of a lot of Reiki practitioners' arms, and they implant.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll tell you something in a second.
Oh, I'm pretty much done. Like I said, this is out of my realm of expertise by far, but I've heard about these tentacles. So people doing Reiki practice sessions are actually doing implant sessions. I've heard that several times, but they're unaware of it. You know, the same way the cell phone kept the gray back into the body that we talked about with the masseuses. The same type of, once again, artificial intelligence control of it.
Very interesting, because the ones that have practiced Reiki, and a lot of them who have not practiced Reiki, but maybe have touched someone, shook their hand or something that practice Reiki, they've got these robotic arms that I see on their left arm especially, and it reminds me of the Terminator and RoboCop. And what was that, Iron Man, and all those. There's all different types that I see on there, and these like reverse the energy in your arm, where you take in energy. It does a lot of other stuff, but I see it reversing energy. So very interesting that they see tentacles coming out too. I wonder how much that's related to that.
You know, let's take this a step further than that even. You know, taking back things to like the way artificial intelligence, once again, for a frame of reference, in something like the movie The Matrix, did they not have the thing called the Sentinel that looks somewhat similar with tentacles and things like that?
I'm going to have to watch that again, because it's not fresh in my mind. I need to watch it again.
Yeah. They said it's a thing that's basically a Sentinel, I think is what it's called. But you know, I was recently listening to an older Earth Files podcast by Dr. Linda Moulton Howe. She's always fascinated me for a couple of decades now. But she's talking to a gentleman who is actually from my home city. Keeps coming up recently. Anyway, he was driving and saw a cow that was first he saw a quote unquote UFO, and then he saw in this pasture a cow in plain sight being attacked by something on its back that he described as a cross between a scorpion and a crab. Okay. And he said that it was attached, almost centipede looking, attached to the back of this cow. It was very large, and it had a clear tail that was attached to the cow, and he could see fluid flowing through it. All right. And the cow was obviously in distress. All right. And you've got this UFO up there flashing that winds up following him as he takes off. All right. Now, she's asking him, does this sound like artificial intelligence? He's saying it seemed like it was alive to me. But nonetheless, we're describing artificial intelligent type of being. And one of the main ways to come here and be disguised is to have an insect type of form. I don't mean the mantis, but something more simplistic, like the nanobots they're trying to make right now, or they are making. Just once again, food for thought. You know, it's not. But you know, the thought of, as much as I thought I knew about the shield that we come through when we incarnate here, the shield of scalar frequency that exists between Saturn to Mars to the moon to certain ancient sites here, we come through that frequency. We come through the dark side of the moon. The gurus talked about that a lot too. And in India, talked about how we incarnate through the dark side of the moon. All right. They called it the soul catcher. Richard Hoagland calls it the shard. But I believe it's the same thing. That's neither here nor there. But when we incarnate through that scalar frequency basically nullifies our natural psychic abilities. All right. That's why and also it erases our soul memories. And I keep saying this over and over to people. If we are immortal soul beings, that means beings that can take energy and matter and create space. That's a Star Trek thing, like a Q, snap your fingers, do things like that.
Yeah.
That puts us in a whole nother realm as immortal souls. You know what I mean? So we are erased of soul memories, I think, for various reasons. One is to keep us asleep so we can be food for basically demonic forces down here. Okay. Number two is, if we are immortal soul beings, what are the two things we're going to really have, the obstacles we have? One is going to be boredom, and number two is going to be stagnation. All right. But boredom is a big one, especially if you are a creator, an immortal soul creator. Okay. You know the beginning and the ending and the outcome of every possible game. On the quantum level, what's left? There's nothing left but for you to trick yourself into not remembering. to learning everything again. And you're a soul that's you're in a nursery. You're learning again. You're climbing here for a special reason. Like I told you before, it's like hide and go seek. I don't know how many times you played that as a kid. After the second time, I knew where everybody was hiding. But I still played it again at least 20, 30 times because you get bored.
Yeah. Yeah, people are like, why do these beings come down and get in bodies? Well, it's boring out there. Everything being perfect all the time.
Well, Kelly, you know, we've got another thing here too. The fact that this is to a certain degree, and I don't want to upset people, but to me, what I perceive when I look around this world, the vibration I feel, this is a prison planet. And this is a place where you've got creative geniuses that went against some type of system, were wiped clean and probably sent. And you also have a definite criminogenic factor, a very dangerous population that is allowed to incarnate down here just like you and I do and walk around in bodies and do something like what Jeffrey Dahmer did or be mass murderers and get away with it for a long time. And I've said this before, you know, when I was working on the thesis for my degree, I did a deal on serial killers and he was one of them, all right? And he sat there with Diane Sawyer, and she's an excellent journalist, in my opinion. She's so detached, you know, but he's so meek the whole interview. But towards the end, he said, you know, everybody asks, why have I done this? Am I schizophrenic? I'm not schizophrenic. He looked up, he said, I did it because it felt good. And if you let me go, I'll do it again and again. Now that is a dark entity telling you what it likes, what its vibration is, period. And however way it is, that spirit has incarnated here and is walking around in a society with us. Mm-hmm. And I see something about the vibration, and maybe that's what's changing here. There's young people incarnating right now that are aware. Normal people our age are waking up. You know what I mean? And things are changing, not accepting this concocted world we're living in. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I think I took us way on a long way for what we're
I think wherever we talk is where we're supposed to go. Because I've been seeing some things lately, and I don't know what you have seen on your end, but these things, when they present themselves, are like, oh no, this is something horrible and bad that's going to be forced on humanity, and I'm too little and too tiny to do anything about it, and I'm just going to have to be dealing with all these horrible things that I'm seeing that are going to happen. These businesses that are in place, these corporations that are in place, poisoning our food, poisoning the environment, doing all that without going into any detail. How many have you seen disappear in the last month of these companies that you thought were going to take over the world, and now they're failing? And there's multiple companies that are from Monsanto to McDonald's and all of those that are. Have you noticed the chemtrailing has stopped?
Not on last day. I still see it.
Oh, here. It stopped where I am. It stopped where I am for at least 3 weeks. I have not seen anything where I live. So it might be in some areas, but we are gaining ground. Good. At this point, we are gaining ground with what is going on in our planet, because people are starting to find the true power within themselves, and they're realizing how powerful they are. And they don't even really have to physically do anything, make any phone calls, write your senator. That gets nothing done. They are changing their frequency and their energy and the way that they look at things, because they are creator beings. They are now creating a different reality. And I'm so excited to see that is taking place here, and these free energies and other systems are starting to come out now and put into the public. I mean, what have you seen on your end? I mean, this is so exciting. These systems they thought were going to take over and destroy their lives and kill people are just dismantled.
Tons of resistance, tons of resistance through the major corporations and things like that. And something like the stock market, to do with quite a bit, but it's the constant threat of something going down, the threat of destruction, the threat of it crashing. And that's what's going on. I'm observing all the wonderful, brilliant people doing these channelings. You and I talked about this last time. The channeling that everybody's doing, it's intensifying. And the amount of people that ask me, well, what have your beings told you? Do you see there's going to be the stock market crash? Are you seeing destruction, yada, yada? And I said, they don't tell me, because I don't think they know. There are too many different timelines. I myself can see a couple of timelines, I don't know which one is going to manifest. You know what I mean? But I can definitely tell you there are forces trying to take us that direction vibrationally, the way of destruction, since the 60s. And since, oh, heck, since our lifetime, since I've been around, since even following, there was a kid having experiences. When I looked into it, trying to back it up with literature, what I'm finding is all these things about horrible destruction. And the destruction, each time there was a year. The first year it was, 8/8/88. That was going to be the day. 8/8/1988, we're finished. Nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was Y2K. I saw many good friends lose their minds over that.
Mm-hmm.
The computers were not going to be able to process it, and the whole world was going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happened. Then it was because the Mayans said it, who practiced blood ritual sacrifice, but never mind that. They said it was the year 2012. I've heard that being from that was the day it was supposed to go down to that was just a year, and it was a little more broad than that. Nothing.
Mm-hmm. And then it's okay. Now 2016, everything's gonna go down.
Gordon Michael Scallion. California's going to fall into the ocean. Nothing.
Now I've seen that. I mean, I've had visions of that. I don't know when, but I have actually had visions of that. Is that terrible? What am I seeing?
I know people saying it. Of course, you're going to see something. The San Andreas is finished. Did you know that?
Oh, so when someone says it and I look, I see a timeline that happens, but not necessarily the timeline that it's happening in. That makes sense.
It's shifting us that way. The more people think of it, focus on it, the more it shifts us that way. Why else would these beings that don't know the future any more than you and I, just because they can bend space and if space is bent, they can control space to a certain extent like that, but it doesn't mean they know the future. So, man, let's just throw this out here, all right? You asked me before we got on here, what I've been kind of doing, all right? Or maybe it's on here. I decided to go get my 5th professional hypnotic regression, all right? And it was for a different reason than the other reasons I had got them, which was normally for missing time, large blocks of it, and I could not remember. Despite all my meditation, despite all my techniques, I couldn't seem to remember, So I had to get hypnotically regressed to regain these memories. Anyway, this one was for a different reason, all right? I'd seen a ship with my mother when I was a child, and I could not remember it. And I described it to my brother, and she remembered it, and it was just odd, and I had been told by a local seer, sees differently than me as a child, that when I was younger and I'd seen one and I probably couldn't remember it. So I just wanted to get regressed for some of my childhood memories of contact, which I can remember clearly, but there was this one I couldn't. And she said I was probably in contact with it. And that only is true. That only happens when dealing with them or the higher frequency. You know what I mean? The retaining memory of the event itself is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And what I can tell you, when dealing with in terms of how many of these beings are capable of bilocating us, putting us in 2 places at once, making our astral body, our dream body, into a solid receptacle and placing our consciousness there, okay? That happens to me at every time. Oh, you remembering that, are you? That probably happens to you all the time. We exist in 2 places at one time.
Okay.
What is that noise?
This is deep. What noise? What noise?
Well, I heard a weird noise. That takes us into something else that I just did a couple of interviews on with my friend PC Patton from Team BSR Music, the very influential brother that had me do these interviews. Okay, it was about the dream body and the physical body, all right? The type of warriors we are that incarnate here as I know it. All right, you've got the dreamers who are natural dreamers, all right, that can sustain dream attention, okay, and they wake up remembering their dreams. They're active when they're dreaming. And then you have some people like me, the gatherers, or stalkers, I've heard them called too.
I like that, stalkers.
I'm a stalking brother, that's what it is. A predator, No, but seriously, you have a stalker has to actually gather enough freed energy, act a different way to free up enough energy in their waking consciousness so they can sustain dream attention. See what I'm saying? So those are difference in gifts, a difference in types of warriors or or spirits that kind of come here. You know what I mean? So the thing is, what are some things you can do in the waking consciousness to help this? Because what happens is you realize we are two beings, and we can take our total cognitive perception and move it as it is in the dream, in the physical body right now. We've got all of our energy is absorbed, perceiving this and keeping this like it is.
Okay.
From a perception of awareness and perception standpoint, okay? So when we actually can free up energy in that way, we can actually take our consciousness and transfer it into the dream body or the astral body or the 1,000 different bodies I've heard this called. But let's just call it the dream body, all right? The astral body. But we can transfer our total cognitive perception into that body and everything changes. It does not conform to the same physical laws that our physical bodies do. It could be gravity, shape, as in shape shifting. None of the things. When you're dealing with a lot of the older shamans, a lot of the older teachers.
I was about to ask if this is something the shamans do, because Samantha would create a wolf and put herself inside the wolf and travel. Is that the same concept you're talking about?
Yeah, this would be more, it would almost appear to be a physical transformation because your consciousness is in the energy body itself. You know what I'm saying?
So you would see that on a three-dimensional level.
Creating something out of astral material and projecting her consciousness into it. I mean, that's beyond me, because these children are so strong. Who knows? You know what I mean? They're all powerful. That's what's changing things right now. A lot of children, like what you just described, your daughter, have these amazing gifts. A lot of them come. The younger people are telling me, "Hey, you seem to know this and that." I don't really know that much at all, and probably what they know is way more intense than me. You know what I mean? Their vibration is even faster. So that may be humanity saving itself. The higher evolution, ascended masters reincarnating right now. What starts happening when we start having beings incarnating that are not robbed of past life memories? Like I incarnated like that with past life memories, and it made my childhood so odd. I wasn't telling people about it, but I was like, man, it conflicted with everything I was learning here. You know what I mean? But what happens when that is actually not having to be hidden, when it's enhanced, when that is actually seeked out by our civilization? People like Nikola Tesla, Marcus Garvey, that is really increased. Their gifts are praised and developed, not scrutinized and hidden. Or God forbid, if you go too much out of mainstream here, you'll get murdered.
Yep. Yes, you will. I posted on my Facebook when that happened.
It's serious, you know. But yeah, that's, it's every time there's been a representation of what we would call, whether it be the Christ consciousness or something higher, or that type of consciousness of the love frequency of the Creator, whatever representative of that has been on this planet and come out, they normally get murdered.
Yep. Quickly. We got you. How dare you? I was waiting for them to knock on my door.
Yesterday was Dr. King. Dr. King's.
Yep, got him too.
I took care of him quick, and he was doing things personally. I could never have endured any of that. What my own father went through as a basketball player here, I couldn't have taken it. So, I've definitely been exterminated quickly. So,
Oh man, what I'm finding when I do these alien implant removals is that a tremendous number of these people are coming from outside the matrix to the Earth, but somehow they've lost their memories somehow in all this. But I'm seeing a large number, and I'm not sure, because these are people who are okay. I want to do this. This is not me just going out to the general public and randomly picking 10 people and seeing where they come from. So I don't know what percentage of the general population actually came here from outside of the matrix, or if it's the ones that did come from outside the matrix and they're like, I know I'm supposed to be doing something. I need to remember what it is. And so they are seeking that clarification and the clarity to figure out what they're supposed to do here. Maybe that's what's going on, and why they find me is I help them to completely wake up. And I don't ever tell anybody what to do, but I help them to wake up so they remember why they came here.
I would say it's probably both. And now let me ask you a question, all right? And I want
Oh, Kelli's in the hot seat.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. You make me start laughing. I'll forget what the heck I was talking about.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
That's why I take notes.
yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, so when I was younger, all right, I was obsessed with trying to get the out of body experience, the OBE, all right, and I kept doing all these different techniques, meditations, and man, I just couldn't get it. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't get that OBE. I could get out a little, but couldn't really have it. You know, so, I kept trying to do different things, so I started changing my diet to more of a vegetarian type of diet.
More plant-based.
Yeah, most definitely.
That's I've done a lot of that. It makes a difference.
And what happened is that instead of actually having the OBE, it started increasing my pineal gland to the point of where I was seeing much more vivid colors around people. I could always see certain things, but this was much different. You know what I mean? Like to the point of where I could see not just the aura, but around the aura, there's actually a form that most people have. You know what I mean? A form that's not quite a mushroom form, but it's more like of a ovular type of formation. Most people have it. Might be slightly bent a little, but that's the basic form. And the next thing I started seeing at that point was the shadows.
Oh.
And this is what I want to ask you, and I want to tie this in your implant removal because, I mean, I didn't realize how insidious this was, all right? Now, what I started seeing is these shadows, and most people see them all the time, even if you're not practicing spiritual things. The amount of inorganic awareness that jumps in our field of perception is constant. But we're so busy paying our bills and maintaining this, we don't normally perceive it. You're lucky if you see an orb and you're tripping, but most people don't perceive what's really, happening before us. So anyway, this shadow, okay, I saw two different types. I've described this before. One of them was circular, one of them was more ovular, all right? And the ovular ones were bigger and a little faster, it seemed like, all right? I started seeing them kind of getting in groups sometimes. And at one point, I saw one at this bowling alley I used to work at. The bartender, after hours, we could bowl if we wanted to. I never was into it, but I see a large shadow passing my peripheral, which we only see in black and white. But if you start being able to learn how to track, you can see them a little bit with your pineal. And I see this larger shadow go up to my coworker and attach to her cranium, her cranium chakra, okay, her crown chakra. Then it elongates down to about her root chakra, the sexual chakra. And it starts pulsating like a slight gray, from a black to a gray. And she's bowling. And I mean, man, she's about to get what they call a turkey. It's about 3 strikes straight. She was knocking the hell out of those pins. I'm like, when I say, here, you all right?
Wow.
It's obvious this thing is feeding on her. And saying, she's, I think that, Barry, I'm just, the stinking thinking is getting me in a bad way. And she's approaching a divorce. I didn't know that, or things aren't going good. But that, and I started noticing that, I'm like, oh my God, I saw this thing feeding on her. And I could see the shadows then jumping on people once I got aware to it, some of the smaller ones. But guess what? The people that were really loving, let alone aware, I didn't see any around them. And then I requested Creator change my vibration so I didn't see that anymore, and made sure it changed. Anyway, my question to you is this. Sorry to go so far off. At one point, knowing that we have the shadows that are feeding on us, predators like that, and the fact that the implants you're seeing, some babies, the other implants that aren't the from source you just described, the other one, the dark implants, implanting our souls, so they manifesting on. Where does this beginning and ending for these beings that they tag us, and it allows us to be more susceptible to attacks from these small shadows that seem much lower level to me? Is that what's going on?
I'm like at a loss for what to say about that. I've seen things on the level of shadows and shadow beings on a very limited basis. And it might be because of something I did on a, not even a conscious level, really, just like you did. You purposefully kind of like tuned it out. Maybe I do that as well. The only thing that I see close to that is a ball that is over people's heads. And this ball is an implant to keep you from connecting to source. And then when you Oh, Dwayne, can you go to the front door? I'm sorry. Someone's at my front door knocking. And so what happens is people will distort it because they're trying so hard to reach source that they will flatten it out and even turn it into like an umbrella shape when they push. And then you'll have where it'll start to turn kind of white on the top, and then there'll be a hole in it. You'll see other stuff on top of that where they're trying to keep disconnecting. I've seen that a lot, the ball, because you'd mentioned like a ball shape. That's the only one, the one that I see like that. Now, when I see things on people's backs, or some of them do go on top of their head, they connect to the top of the spine. I see a lot of those, but I don't see it in shadow form. I see details. Like you can see a thorax and an abdomen on some of them, and some of them look like suckerfish. and I've seen that. But you talked about in the beginning, an oval that you see around people, kind of like it takes on an oval shape when you get far enough out on the aura. Yeah. When you think about, and I don't know, because this is mixed company, I'm gonna have to kind of talk in code, and then Dwayne can explain this a lot better than I can. But they have, if you want to call it like divine feminine, they have really masked this, how things work. They make you God is a man, you call it he, and they have done like the masculine thing with everything. But you look at the aura and it takes on a shape. Does this remind you of the female anatomy? So, and what comes from that, you birth things, you create from that. So we are creator beings. And I'm not saying that, when you talk about female energy or feminine, it's not necessarily that, oh, you're a girl. It's just the ability to nurture, to create, all of that we put into a category, which is feminine. But the masculine and feminine need to, work hand in hand. But it's very interesting you talked about that, because that's kind of what happens. The shape of the aura becomes like the end of a canal where stuff comes out of that you create.
Well, that's because if you think of it, that's the one thing. That's why the feminine aspect is coming in so strong right now, that energy, because the portion of our creator is the universe itself as a womb. Whether it's on the quantum experience, the quantum level or not, it is the womb going outwards. And the energies that, what they're calling like black matter expansion right now, I believe, which is the universe going forward in that way, but that's still the expansion of consciousness, of awareness. And I think it's endless in that way. But us as beings that are truly in the creator's image, it's not going to be like some guy sitting in a chair. It's going to be what you just described. What kind of creators are we? What type of immortal beings, immortal soul beings, creators are we? Obviously, a lot more than what we know. One of my experiences with missing time, one of the things they had told me is they showed me a certain type of device, and one of these beings, a throne being, was in it, and its head is blowing up with these light, I don't want to call them tentacles, filaments, light filaments. Thank you. They're saying to me, you don't understand, you don't remember how powerful the warp fields of your thoughts are. The warp fields of your thoughts affect reality. And you've all forgotten that, how much it really is. Because we've forgotten our intent of will, how really to project our intent of will onto something. Besides just, man, I want this money. Oh, I want that money. But I mean something different. Like, how do you project that same intent directly to the creator? And more, how do you do it on the love frequency? Your own personal caricature of what the creator was. It don't matter what the rest of the world thinks. How do you commune with it and join with it before this body expires and you come back here and get wiped clean again and don't remember?
Interesting. Very interesting.
Maybe it could, like I said, it could just be crap. Everybody says we're full of crap.
I don't think it is. I just think when you get these idea bubbles or whatever you want to call them, that maybe you're 80% there, where you don't have that extra to fill in, so you think it's crap and it's not. But just hold on to that bubble, because later on you're going to get all the other information to fill in. Now, this concept that this is a womb, tell me your opinion on this and how it appears. When there's there's a way that after these implants are removed, there is that beam that you see, and it varies in size from small to way out here and around the body. It's golden. It connects from source to you. It goes to the center of the earth or center of the planet. And so you've got this almost like, you know, a rod, I guess. Here's source and here's the center of the planet, and you're like right here. And then I see this white pulse of light that goes from source down to the earth, from source down to the earth. And it reminded me of an umbilical cord. Not that that's literally what happens in an umbilical cord, but the heartbeat basically of the mother drives things in the baby's body. And it gets everything from the mother through the umbilical cord.
Well, you know what you're kind of expanding on is excuse me. What you're expanding on is the silver cord, actually. But you're taking it more than just from going to the body and expanding that more to the luminous cocoon. And that's kind of what I call that, because when you get outside of the aura and what kind of protects and the true receptacle for our awareness outside of the body is kind of that shape we were describing. You know, I got much more interesting in trying to observe that and what is called the assemblage point, which is the small point that is on this luminous cocoon about in the middle, okay? And most people, it sits there, all right? But the thing is, we're like a tree. We're actually a stationary life form in some ways, and the universe is flowing through us. And the universe flows through that perception point in the world we assemble. See what I mean? So if you move that assemblage point on your luminous cocoon through pure perception, cognitive perception, just a little bit, you move it just a little bit, these other universal filaments of light start going through your assemblage point, and you assemble a different world. And we go to sleep on a luminous cocoon, the assemblage point starts moving away around when we're sleeping. We're assembling different worlds all the time. But because we need a frame of reference, if we're cognitively perceiving it, we have to make it in a world like this one, which means it kind of moves along the area where it's already at, where it's already fixed at for our waking consciousness. That's called the band, I think. The band of man. That's what they call it. It kind of stays around there. See what I'm saying? So this is taking not just perception with our brain, left and right consciousness, but taking it a step forward to us as immortal soul beings. How do we perceive things? You know, dealing with that type of boredom we talked about, there's nothing we can do. We get within the certain, I think, perimeters of another immortal soul. We can join our universes, join our reality, and come to an agreement. I said that before. It's like that movie Phenomenon with John Travolta when he's finally flipping the pen. Everybody goes, "How are you doing that?" He's saying it's an agreement. It's an agreement between me and the molecules. It's not forced. But I think on the immortal soul level, right now, we're all agreeing to try to keep this solid to a certain degree and to trick ourselves. And the rest is dark forces helping make damn sure we stay asleep because we're food. To be in these jungle concretes with this great technology and to think as humans we have no natural predators is foolish. We do. They're just beyond mortal vision. We just described them. These weird shadows out of your peripheral that people don't want to talk about, don't want to make like they exist. The same implants you're removing from people, many of them are definitely real and affecting people's lives. People don't want to talk about that. The fact that their own technology is going to a type of nanotechnology that who knows what we're going to be capable of in a couple hundred years. You know, oh, sorry. I guess I never finished in that experience of that regression. That ship I saw, I was going to tell you on board there, one thing I had to deal with, to be honest, not to sound like a racist, but there were these Caucasian gentlemen in there. I was like, all these years I couldn't remember that. These Caucasian guys in there? Not any kind of the other different strange, crazy beings I've seen. But I'm convinced, one, they look partially like clones. They weren't fully, but they looked even more like, that looked like my brothers, all right? Number two is this whole compartment I was in and the size of the ship was, how I had described it, all right? This was a time ship, and that was a time compartment, and those are historians. I've talked about the charters a lot. The first charter that gave me this rock here was actually on that ship. Caucasian guy, and he looked like a person, except for their energy's different. You know what I mean? So we always don't know who we're dealing with and who creeps into our lives for just a second and lays something heavy on us, and then they're gone. All right. But I couldn't put all this together. I certainly couldn't then. I can remember this ship that I saw with my mother until, Lord, for 26 years. I was 31 years old, sitting at her kitchen table looking at an old Omni magazine. And she walked by and said, "That looks like the UFO you and I saw." Look back at her. My mother was not into that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, "You don't remember that? Mr. Memory guy? Mr. Star Trek guy? You don't remember?"
Yes.
But it just really blew me away, because on the other side, years earlier, I had this clairvoyant tell me I had seen a ship with a parent, and I couldn't remember it. And I was given something by somebody on that ship. For a lot of experiencers like us, or aware people, these beings I call charters, people seem to really be interested in that right now. They come around about every 7 years, and they make contact with you of some type. They just make, and it's one of those people that pops up out of the crowd. They say something extremely heavy to you. They know things about you. It lasts a minute or two, and then they're gone. They slip off where they come from. You don't know who they were. You don't know where they came from, but they made you feel better. See, right here, I felt like you've met some. And check it out, Kelly. Since I've been talking about this, a lot of people tell me I met my first one in a bookstore, an antique shop bookstore. People are telling me the library a lot, bookstores, and in airports. They meet these charters, and they come around every 7 years. Okay, there's nothing about them physically outside. I've seen something, maybe an ear that doesn't have quite a full lobe, and some really nice eyes. But outside of that, there's nothing that's going to make you say, "Oh, are they a star person? Are they from the inner earth?" It's nothing like that, okay? But if you can detect energy and sense energy of people, you'll sense there's something different about them. You'll detect it. They're like more advanced. That makes me think that humanity's a lot more than just biology. You know what I mean? They feel like humans from the future about 2,000 or 3,000 years if we don't annihilate ourselves. And that takes us into these beings I saw on this ship. Now, I don't know what happens in the future that made these guys look like clones, but they were certainly peaceful, and they weren't hurting me, but they were observing things. And that's what a historian would do. Sorry, I'm totally cutting you off.
Oh no, I'm just sitting here in self-discovery zone while you're talking. I was like,
I gotta tell you, I was the main brother speaking up against all the Pleiadians. Look like Fabio and the Christy Brinkley. And as an experiencer, having childhood experiences, that was very discouraging. And I came to a dislikement of that. You know what I mean? But then, lo and behold, I spoke against it. I get my last regression, and I'm standing there in front of these beings. That I'll tell you how these Caucasian gentlemen appeared. I'm very good at judging height. All right. There's two sitting in these chairs that are kind of unilateral in a way, like the Roswells described. And there's a third one that's standing up against this wall. And he's in a station that's standing up that must have isomorphic controls, because he's not actually touching anything. All right. He was about 6'4". Each of them had this gray hair. All right. And Kelly, I was cracking statements during the regression that said that, well, at least they fit the error. They've got, what do you call those? Mullets. Like David, he had a mullet like that, except it was gray. All right.
I love it.
With these blue suits. And to be honest, they look like leotards. I was making fun of them kind of. They look like these blue leotards. And I kept talking.
I've seen those.
I kept talking about the George Adminsky contacts. And what the heck do I remember that? That was before I was born. But he's the one that had the cats from Venus. And guess what they kind of look like? I was forced to think, and they had blue suits, but I was forced to think, I'm saying, those weren't from Venus. They're from the future. But I was forced to think, okay, these gentlemen, if they weren't in their mid-60s, would that gray hair not maybe be blonde?
Oh.
That kind of blew me away. It took me days to accept that. And don't get me wrong, I don't mean to sound racial or anything like that, but just there's certain things that are never exposed, like black extraterrestrials, black contact, not just in my culture, but in our culture in general. It's not talked about very much. Like I have found out now since I thought that maybe most melanin dominant experiencers have never been abducted and that the Greys only experimented on Caucasian people. I found out because I hadn't had experiences like that. I found out I was wrong. I was wrong. I've had a number of black experiencers come forward to me now and say they've been experienced on or experimented on. So, you know what I mean? So now seeing these guys, historians, I don't know where it begins and ends, but I just can tell you they feel like they were human to me, right? Advanced human.
Now, is it possible? Because I had an experience. I've done a lot of channeling, enough to know not to trust channeling. I've done a lot of channeling. I've allowed beings to come into my body and talk through me, and then I just and then another form is just listening. Like I'll say something and I'll hear what they say back, and then I'll say, okay, they said this. There's lots of forms of doing this, and I've done a lot of stuff, but this was different somehow. And I don't know how to explain it was different, but let me know if you think it is possible that this is one of those beings that came around every 7 years, but they're coming out possibly in a different way than you think. I would just give me your opinion after I tell you what happened. My husband and I, it was like a Saturday night or something like that. And there was kind of this hole in the wall club that we wanted to go to that everybody had been saying, oh, go to this club. You know, nothing special, just, you know, throw darts. It's got a bar and some pool tables and, you know. So we were just going to go look in, see what it was all about. If it was like yucky, we just leave and you know, just say, oh, we just had to leave. So we get there and there's kind of like a back area that's outside that has picnic tables. And so if you go out there, you have to sit at a picnic table with other people. You know, if you want to sit down, otherwise you just stand up. So I went to sit down and we sat down at a picnic table with a bunch of other people. And then something like took me over and I was observing what was going on. And I know that sounds like I'm channeling, but it was so different than the channeling that I have ever done. And I started to talk to this guy. This was probably like at least 5 years ago. So I don't remember all the details, but I remember kind of the big picture of what happened. So I start telling this guy, I said, you know, you came here from California. I didn't know any of this. Like, you came here from California and you're trying to escape what is going on in your life. And you came here to run away from it. But what you're finding out, it's not word for word, but just what you're finding out is you can't run away from it. And it followed you here and you're still having to deal with it. So the reason that you're coming to these clubs is to try to escape this thing that you need to deal with and you're avoiding. Anyway, that was kind of the big picture, but it was highly detailed with details in it. And he just was like, you know, he just sat there mesmerized, just listening to every word. And it was almost like everybody stopped talking. It's almost like time stood still around us. Like no one else heard any of this or observed any of this. It was just the two of us. And I talked for, gosh, 2 or 3 minutes. And I just gave him all this information and then basically told him what he needed to do to fix these problems. And so it was one of those moments that was it wasn't just, oh, your dead grandfather has a message for you. This was what you're talking about that says something very profound and then they're gone. Because we left right after that.
And that, I would take that in a slightly different context.
Okay, so it's not what you're talking about at all.
Yeah, not a charter. A charter was a physical person. When I've come in contact with their people, okay, come up on you and they say something really heavy. And like one of them was a telepath I couldn't even shut out. I'm a strong telepath. I couldn't shut her out. In fact, she almost laughed at my shields, I think. Anyway, but but she meant no harm, you know what I mean? But anyway, no, that's slightly different. But I think what you're talking about is an instant where you have, to my awareness, there are 3 classifications of angels, earthbound or earth angels. One would be the seraphim, one would be the cherubim, but the other are called sanobim, S-A-N-N-O-B-I-M, I think. And if I'm not incorrect, the sanobim are typically a type of messenger also. So they leave messages as where they can make their dream, they can appeal corporeal and say something to someone and do the same thing like a charter would I just described, but they can also join consciousness and use someone else to speak. And this is on angelic realms, to speak something like that and use someone in the way you just said. And that may have been what happened. That's what I'm sensing more You had
Okay. And that's why I asked, because other people experience this too, not just me. And I was asking for clarification, I guess, because I didn't understand.
I mean, when they come around, when any angelic presence has come around me, you feel it. I mean, that love, you know what I mean?
The warmth and the love.
Yeah, and it normally precedes their presence. You know what I mean? And then it makes it a lot easier to interrogate them about who they are. I do it anyway. Sorry, sue me. I don't trust energetic awareness. I got to make sure it could.
Yeah, I don't trust them either.
You know. Anyway, concerning channeling, I had somebody just asked me about that. I mentioned a book I had read. Oh gosh, 30 years ago now. It was called "Talks with a Devil" by the poet P.D. Ouspensky. And it would be, I think, probably the first thing was like a channeling that I'd ever read. And it was very interesting in that they're talking to a demon who claims to be millions of years old. Okay. And the first thing when he gets done saying, well, there's no God, there's no creator, there's none of that. But there's an abyss between you and us, between us and the others that we can't cross. But when I say that, and when the things that this demon was saying, and I hear so many people saying these different things to get rid of these beings, and they might be dealing with some of these shadows, you know what I mean? Okay. And these techniques get rid of them. But you're not going against a 1,000,000-year-old demon that hates your guts and hates your very existence. And be careful. People out there trying to channel these dark energies or trying to
control them in some way and command them to do things.
They don't have the proper power. I mean, that's very, very dangerous. So I'm just saying, know what you're doing before you jump in a situation like that. Don't just throw yourself out like that. And these beings that you're channeling, they don't know who these beings really are. We've got certain inorganic down here on this planet that some of them I call our first cousins. Because some of the inorganic beings down here are earth awareness. Some of them are disincarnate people. All right. And I call kind of like some of them are first cousins because they know exactly how to trick us psychologically. We start messing with Ouija boards or channeling and inviting these beings into your body to share, cohabitate consciousness in your physical body. Like I said, once again, just my opinion, but that's not something I do. I don't know about you, Kelly, but I'm embarrassed to say I spent years interrogating my own guides. I even interrogated my own angels at first because I was not sure. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's right, but it was better than getting duped. P.T. Barnum said one is born every second. I wasn't going to be that one.
And then when you're all trusting, you overlook things that you should see. And when you're not trusting, you see everything. Then you can make a good judgment because you got all the information when you're not trusting.
Yes.
I've got a question about these silver boxes that I'm seeing with people in the uterus. And I'm trying to figure out, do the guys have something too? And I've only seen like 1 or 2 men that have the silver box. But the silver box is linked to this alien hybrid breeding program. And on some level. That someone has been a part of this program. So when I talk to people that have this box, if they don't have memories of anything, they've had horrible periods, missed periods, felt like they were pregnant when they shouldn't be pregnant, and miscarriages, all kinds of crazy stuff. So what is this silver, and it's in another dimension, obviously, but what is this silver box that they put in people? What does it do? Because I just get this sensation when it is gone, they have no more attachment. They can't find them. It can't do anything to them once you take that silver box away.
I got to be honest with you. I've never heard of that before, so I have no idea.
Well, I haven't either till I've seen them. And when you see them, this is how I find out what they are. I put my hands on them and I just feel, open my mind and I just feel, and then I'll get a connection to some races, like alien races, or an idea of what is going on. And that's kind of how I figured that one out. Okay. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing all these alien hybrid children. So what do you know about that program, the hybrid program, the breeding program?
In fact, on my YouTube channel, I put a guy up. His name is Alistair, and he came from that thing that's Bases 18. He has a clip on there called Soul Catcher Short. All right, and what it is basically he puts up a type of what's called tube technology, which is a part of the resurrection technology, soul transfer technology on a more humanistic way, more primitive. Okay, but he puts that up on what he's calling a rapid cloning cycle system, basically, and how not just the Greys are using that, but they're using that to actually make super soldier bodies that are not inhabited by immortal souls yet. Then he goes on further and to talk about machines that are designed to attract immortal souls by false light and then imprison them in these super soldier bodies. That guy is great. I suggest checking him out. Alistair from Basis 18.
Yeah, is it Alistair Martin? Is that his name?
So, yeah, and he's a little what do you call it? Not exotic, just kind of a little different, but he's cool. I mean, he's.
I think we're all kind of different, Gary.
He's kicking some serious knowledge.
I put it on my watch later list. The first one, it's Sentient Fluid Session 1. He's got all kinds of stuff out there.
His black goo fast, his fast black goo. That's a good one. It's called the Black Goo Fast Blast, I think, with him. That's good. And so is his description of the soul catcher and the cloning process. They're all separate videos, but they're really good.
There it is. Fast Blast, the Black Goo, and then you said the Soul Catcher.
Soul Catcher Short.
Soul Catcher Short?
Yeah. Yeah, as in short clip, I think you meant for it. But,
oh, okay. Let me see if I can find that.
Comes up, but.
And I don't know if this is him or not. Let me put his name in it. Sorry.
A lot of people have been talking about that. I've been reading a lot about some of the mantis encounters, and a lot of them, a lot of experience have been saying they've seen light emitting from their faces and from their mouth, and their mouth seemed to not be mobile always, and there's a light coming out of them, and they've been described as being life carriers. And I don't know where that begins and ends with the mantids, all right? Because I've had a lot of experiences, like, I've had.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. Just what carrier? Like they got people in there? Like
no, as in some type of life energy.
Okay, so they haven't like swallowed people, and that's the people's life energy.
Yeah, no, just some type
of energy
inside of them. Like in saying that some of these mantid bodies may be artificial also.
Okay, I just want to make sure my nightmares tonight are accurate after my interview with you.
I'll just say, I've had one of the first beings that came to me when I was a child was insectoid, but and now as an adult he had come back through my adult experiences, but he was not like a mantid. All right, he looked more like a grasshopper, a cross between a grasshopper and a locust, and he had human proportion limbs. All right, but Kasara did a picture of him for me. It's kind of what he looked like there.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've seen something very similar to that outside of the Omniverse in an area. And he's there every time. I call him my stalker. Well, at first he was like, oh no, it might not be exactly like this, because at first I'm like, he's peeking over something. I thought he had his hands like looking over something. Then I realized his hands just are like that. That's just how his hands are, and he's not peeking over anything. But when I go through this place, I don't even know where I am. This is outside the Omniverse, inside the cell that we're inside of, and it's a passageway where beings and what look like humans and all that walk through from somewhere to somewhere else, almost maybe this train station or something. And this guy, he's there all the time, just looking at me from above. He's there every time.
Behind him, there's some stars back there, and that would be what our science calls the galaxy Abell 2256. When I was younger, I was interrogating the heck out of these guys. Where are you from? Who are you? Where are you from? And sometimes they say, you won't understand. And he starts telling me to go the 16th dimension upwards, beyond into E-space, and then go 900 billion light years out. And our science only recently had found that galaxy I'm talking about, and it's some of the first colliding galaxies close to what they think is the Big Bang. So of course I wouldn't understand. They're telling me things like, focus on our bases on the 3rd and 4th planets outside of Pluto. But your science hasn't found that either, so you don't understand that either. And that's when I was in like the 6th grade. You know what I mean? And I was saying, there's no such thing out there. And they haven't even found that moon of that's called Chiron yet. They found it somewhere around then, the Pluto's moon. Now these things called trans-Neptunian objects, which are out like another Kuiper belt outside of Pluto. And, you know, and that way I'll constantly say, a lot of people ask Planet X. I think that's the biggest load of programming ever. There is no Planet X, all right? Right now, something called solar perturbance would have showed that in our solar system. If there was a planet 4 times the Earth moving through our solar system, we would have seen it. It would have been detected. There's no overall cabal that is silencing every single astronomer, amateur astronomer on this planet that's trying to find that and get famous, all right? And a few people say, well, this and that, but they're not really proving anything that breaks solar perturbance, all right? That's kind of where I stay with that. But when it comes with these trans-Neptunian objects, some of them that are even larger than Pluto, but not the size of Planet X, they are charted. They do know their orbits, all right? And they do come, you know, into our solar system close to a certain degree. But I mean, that there is what should be looked at. And the fact that I know beings that told me those bases were jump-off points into our solar system because of the density. The closer they get to this solar system and our sun, the denser things gets, especially for beings that are coming from higher frequencies. I didn't understand what some of them were saying when they say it feels like they're burning when they come here. It feels like it hurts. And especially when they're coming through wormholes. How does that hurt? Different frequencies. Just like trying to be on the ship. I've told people before. My physical experiences, very sick there. To the point of throwing up, to the point of not being able to think straight, especially when they're telepathically bombarding you with stuff. And you've got a certain oxygen in there that seems to have a little bit more maybe nitrogen in it. Smells like Windex, ammonia. It's kind of hard to breathe in there, especially in the maturation chambers. It really is bad in there. So, you know, I thought, you know, I could remember some of these experiences afterwards. The missing time, they wiped my mind. But that isn't what happened at all. You know, it's the frequency difference. They called it,
I see.
Yeah, they called it temporal distortment causes temporal aphasia. Through psychology, I know aphasia is when you're kind of just out of it. And that's kind of how I was there. Not at first, but trying to maintain in that breathing environment, the fact that a lot of the rooms are moving around you. I've been on several different vessels, but a lot of them are kind of like that. It's like some of the rooms are moving around you, and that's hard. It's hard to even get a frame of reference to perceive anything if you're on a pure consciousness or a condensed light ship. It's hard.
I'm finding a lot of those ships that are functioning with thought, and you kind of, whatever you're thinking is created around you in the ship. Those are typically out of the universe. I think there's a whole lot that is coming into our universe from elsewhere that people are not acknowledging. Because when I see, and I could be completely wrong. This is me as a human trying to evaluate percentages on stuff, not knowing. But when you get outside of this universe and you see if you want to call it technology, what they're capable of doing outside of our universe, and then you talk about things that happen with, shutting down nuclear plants or, stuff like that. It gives the appearance that at least 90% of what goes on around our planet seems to be either from humans or races that actually live on this planet that are not from elsewhere. And and then maybe 10%, I'm a bad judge of percentages, but maybe 10% is actually what I would classify as aliens. And they come from outside of the matrix. So there seems to be this agenda of vilifying or demonizing the aliens for whatever reason. Either it's just because they want us to think they're bad so that they can get away with all these experiments that they're doing. And I think these breeding experiments are more humans or the beings that are on our planet traveling in ships than it is anything outside of our universe. Because where I go, these ships, they create DNA for humans. They create the codes that create humans. And on the ship outside of the Omniverse, they create it, then they send it to Source. And Source does you know, whatever it wants to with the DNA. So it doesn't make any sense to me, because I've been on the ship and I've seen them create these humans in the ship, and they will, I don't want to gross anybody out, because there was never a soul or a spirit or anything in these bodies, but they will create the bodies and they'll cut on them, they'll burn them, they'll, you know, do traumatic type stuff to just experiment to make sure they've got a good human body that that is sustainable. So they, outside of this universe, they can create their own. They don't need anything from, they don't need to come and take a female. Let's see how this works. They do everything outside of it. So from where I'm looking, it looks like either humans with alien type technology, or those that we are calling aliens, but are actually living on our planet with us, that are doing things. What is your opinion on that?
Recently,
am I even making any sense at all?
I've been trying addressing this a lot lately, and I'll tie it from two different perspectives. The way you described it is the way the gentleman named Mac Toonies described it, that wrote a book called The Crypto-Terrestrials. Mac Toonies, MacToonies. Mac Toonies. He wrote a book called Crypto-Terrestrials. Kind of cool cover on it. He had an untimely demise not long after that. He published that book that seemed to be natural circumstances, but you know, it's just odd. Anyway,
it's on YouTube, everybody. It's like, oh, sorry, I'm putting it on my watch later list. You can find it on YouTube. Mac Toonies and the Crypto-Terrestrials. It's on there.
Real quick, what he calls the Crypto-Terrestrials are basically beings that live here on Earth with us, more advanced, able to trick us.
They've got black eyes.
And using the main thing, well, the humanoid, but using the main thing, using extraterrestrial from out there, out in space, instead of right here. And when I'll kind of take that and turn that into something else that I have a memory of from past life memories, which would be a breakaway civilization is what they're calling it now. Okay, but when the first colonizers coming here to Earth, it wasn't the surface. Very dangerous. Very dangerous. Just the animals alone here, dangerous. Okay, no matter what your technology was. So we got like a sanctuary in the inner Earth to a certain degree. And not just that, but you know, from my knowledge, what I can remember and what my experience has shown me, that the inner Earth is more like catacombs, all right? And there's some caverns in there that might have some type of civilizations in them, but they're also like cities in mountain cascade ranges, all right? Somewhere like somebody who has got my attention, and it's odd, she got laughed at so much, but that's Shirley MacLaine. You know, she has a ranch in Caldera, I believe it is. And a lot of people have seen a lot of larger ships go towards the mountains and dematerialize and rematerialize outside of it. Even some of the stars that have been over the house have seen that. You know what I mean? She was on Oprah not long before Oprah started her own network doing an interview, and people kind of laughing at her a little bit, but she's very aware, definitely an experiencer. As she even said, I live by the Caldera mine and there was an explosion of crystals there. I'm pretty sure these ships are attracted to the crystals or utilizing the magnetics of them. She's right on. She's dead on that. You know what I mean? So anyway, just food for thought. But I think as far as breakaway civilization, I think we've got different cultures down there, different beings, different types. I think it's much more of a galactical type of, they're joined more with the galactic forces than we are here on the surface. That's what I honestly believe. And if you look at it, how the surface world goes out here, I wouldn't be real quick to throw myself out there either. But you're getting a lot of people like my friend Floburn. She's on YouTube also. She has had interaction with the gentleman she believes is from the inner Earth. And for all I know, some of the charters are from the inner Earth. I mean, I don't know. They certainly don't say, hey, I'm from the Pleiades, I'm from Arcturus. They just don't give, none of my beings hardly have given those names. Very few, because underneath regression, even gave me any names at all that were ones that matched ufology or astronomy at all. You know what I'm saying? That was, you know, but that was also very disconcerting. It, you know, people say you're blessed to have those experiences. Don't be so sure, because, excuse my language, they'll fuck up your life, man.
Yeah, they will.
Real quick. You come up with some missing. You see some of these ships. You come up with hours of missing time. You can't remember nothing. Try to go get your studies done. Try to sit in those classes and listen to professor, or try to go work your job. You ain't thinking about nothing but aliens and spaceships and UFOs and Star Trek or whatever. You know, it will tear your life up. And you're trying to remember what happened. That can become a lifetime pursuit, like it was for me. When I sit here and talk, I didn't just know all this like boom. I had to put all this together through a lifetime of experiences, because it's fragmented like our consciousness kind of is. You know what I mean? Food for thought. Because I know a lot more people are having experiences than they think, that talk to me every day. They say, I haven't had experiences like you. Don't be so sure.
You just haven't remembered yours yet.
You probably don't remember. They're contacting you probably quite frequently. If you've ever seen a ship ever, one that is definitely beyond normal government, or I'm sorry, I don't use that word, Big Brother type of military deal. All right, this is something different that you lost even a few seconds watching it, or you happen to keep seeing them. That is a response. And a lot of times these are people talking to me that say, I wish I had contact like that. Yeah, you're wishing, you're probably getting it, and you just can't remember it.
Stop creating your reality. We got a bunch of questions. Holy crap. Let's see. Hi, guys. You had asked me last time to come back with my question during the implant removal. Kelly mentioned I was part of a group of beings that seeded the Asian race. What group of beings might that be? Thanks. And you might not know this. I'm going to be interviewing Andrew Bartzis, and that might have been what she was thinking about. So do you know?
To my knowledge, there are Asian type of extraterrestrials in Vega, as there are also a lot of black people in Vega. Vega is a very kind of melanin dominant system there. So I think maybe she should look further towards Vega. And also, when dealing with things here on Earth, the Sasquatch, all right, there's been several encounters of white Sasquatches, albino Sasquatches, seen beaming down out of ships, and then being accompanied by Asian type of extraterrestrials. All right, on my YouTube page, I'll put up a picture. It's one of them that was, I think, drawn by David Chase, about a ship and a certain emblem they have on. But as far as I know, that's more towards the Vega system, you know. And that's, once again, a lot of the ethnic extraterrestrials, we just don't hear much about them.
Very interesting. On the no, I've not seen a Sasquatch or Bigfoot. I have not. So this is just something I have heard and read, and I've seen pictures that they're saying on their planet there's 4 different kinds. The one that's like brown, white, and I can't remember the other types. Just kind of like, and I'm not equating them to bears, but you know, hey, you have some bears that are black and they're suited for other climates. Then you've got the white ones up where it's colder. The people who report this say that they see different types of the Bigfoot depending on where you are on the planet. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Well, you've got Baker Thunker on YouTube. He kind of fell off lately, but in some of his earlier ones, he had a white Sasquatch on there. Really good footage. And there's another one by M.K. Davis that's called the Sasquatch Altercation. I'm sorry, Bigfoot Altercation. And what it's done is filmed in mirrors on a retreat where people are trying to feed Sasquatch. And you see these 2 young ones pushing each other by this tire. One of them's white, one of them's brown. The brown one rams the white one off of the scene, and then they take off running, and a bigger one comes out. One that probably stands over 10 feet tall.
Like daddy came to see what was going on.
Yeah, M.K. Davis, the Bigfoot Altercation video. Very interesting.
Wait, M.K. Davis?
M.K. Davis. He's got that one. He's also got the Shed Talker that people were trying to debunk. It's so easy right now. Anything that is paranormal, oh, it's CGI. Oh, it's a fake. I mean, a lot of times it can be, but I mean, that's also becoming the cabal way of discrediting everything in the year 2016.
Oh, wow. It's on here. Oh, holy crap.
MK Davis.
Okay, I'm trying to make it mute while I'm looking. Oh, they're fighting. Well, I don't know. It's very blurry.
Yeah, here's the problem. Okay, like most of the people that have tried to get Sasquatch on video, okay, they tend to be able to miss the video. Like they're even getting the stuff out of the feeding that they had there and threw the bread out and wanted only the candy bars. All right, that's a very interesting little retreat they're trying to set up there But what they had to do to try to trick the Sasquatch is they took these cameras and put them into mirrors facing away from where the
Okay, so this is in the mirror inside, so you're having to focus through a mirror and then a window, because I can't get my camera to focus when I am inside trying to do something through a window. I can't get it to focus.
Like there was one where you have the feeder there, and something makes one of the feeder clicks, and it takes it like 60 seconds to reset, and when it resets, the food is gone. So they were knowing how to trick those things. See what I mean? But when they faced them outwards and used the mirrors, they seemed to think that they weren't filming them. They're filming outwards in the forest or whatever. That's what I got out of that anyway. What was reported back.
It looks like almost like sped up footage.
I mean, he sped it up as he goes through.
Okay.
Explain it. So I mean, it got slammed a lot, and nobody's giving any credit to those guys who are trying to set that up. And it's not MK Davis; it's some other people. But but right now we can watch other people go out in the woods and yell and howl and take these sticks and hit the. Are you kidding me? If I was a Bigfoot, that'd be the biggest comedy show since man. I'd be out there cracking up, man. Yeah. I was smoking a fatty going, whoa, this is great.
If I was a Bigfoot, I'd be like, I'm putting this on Facebook.
Yeah.
This is going on YouTube. Let's see. I was attuned to Reiki twice, and a week after both sessions, I had life-changing experiences that were painful to go through. Why do you think that happened? Thank you, love and light, my friends.
That's the question. Probably a little more for you, isn't it?
It might be. It might be. They think you know everything, Barry. So what I have experienced after that, people who try or who do the Reiki and they get implanted, I see that it takes sometimes like a week for eggs to hatch, for things to happen, and then it's just not good. These entities also on the back, if you take the entity out without taking all your implants out, then it usually injects you with something. And some of those that get the eggs injected, it's like 1 or 2 weeks the eggs start to hatch, and then you have lots of problems. But yeah, that's what I see, the implantation that I see with doing Reiki. But you'll get you get the Reiki. It's like, I'm giving you Reiki energy, and it's like, oh, that feels so good, because there's a positive to it. Oh, it feels so great. And after they're off of that Reiki buzz in about a week, when the implants start to kick in, you see, between 1 and 2 weeks that I see every time.
I wouldn't let anybody work on me energetically until after my accident. I met my friend Margaret Wrinkly. She does energy work like that, and she does really good Reiki. I mean, the amount of energy coming off her is unreal, and it's blessed. Love energy. I like that. But outside of her, I would never let anybody work on me, just because I felt like these people were implanted. And my question is this: are most of these creatures you're describing, are they artificial or are they creatures?
The feeling I get is, and I know it's not in the third dimension and they don't have blood and heartbeat, but I get alive with consciousness on there, is what I sense from them, that there's nothing artificial about. Usually when I see stuff on people's backs, it's living.
Yeah. Oh, life forms. There was a friend of mine. He jumped on my case. It's been a few years ago now, because he kept saying, I want to see interdimensional beings. I said, no, really, you don't. And he kept saying he did. So I said, okay, get in a room, black out your room, completely dark, get on the edge of your bed, and take about 15 really deep breaths, maybe 20, where you actually expand your diaphragm, a real breath, and then lay down on the bed. You can even breathe when you're laying down on the bed. When you start seeing the air looks like it's bubbling a little bit, you're getting real close then. Next time I saw him, oh, you cursed me. I cursed you. What? He said, man, I did that technique. He said, man, I started seeing horrible things, man. These skeletons and these things swimming around everywhere, and they were horrible. Yeah. And I said, well, first of all, I didn't curse you, man. I tried to warn you. And secondly, here's the real bad news. They were there before you decided to look. Maybe you should check out the movie From Beyond by H.G. Wells. That's a real good one. I think that describes things quite well. When they turn that resonator on and vibrate the pineal gland, They start seeing things moving around, these piranha looking things. The guy's ready to move, he grabs them. Don't move. They can see you if you're in the field of energy. They're always there, you know. Anyway, sorry. That's
they're asking about your YouTube channel. What's your YouTube channel called?
Nightcloud. NIGHTCLOUD. If you type that in my name, Nightcloud and Barry, it'll come up. I've got most of the videos I've done around there, and then it's a lot of kind of cool stuff that I've talked about a little bit. Some of it maybe I haven't, but nonetheless, if you're an experiencer, there's probably something on there you resonate with. You know, I just set it up the other day with my friend, so I'm new to that whole deal.
Okay, when I did Nightcloud, what came up was Katy Perry, Wide Awake. I have no clue. That's the first video. I'm not joking. When I did that, this is my search. I put Nightcloud Barry.
No space. No space.
Oh, that's what happened. But is this where is it? Is this you right here?
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Okay. Yeah. So let me click on you. And so there you go. Here's Barry's channel. Oh, got your little alien up here.
Saw a being that looks similar to that Xandar that I saw. All that artwork is done by Christine Dennett. She did all the artwork for the book I've been trying so desperately to put together.
She's really good.
Oh, she's great. She's very in tune. Some things she put on those illustrations without me even telling her. I never told her, but yet the real experience is there. So much props to her, you know.
So she's got some psychic abilities then.
She doesn't say that, but she's pretty amazing, you know.
Oh, she does, whether she wants to say it or not.
Yeah, the best ones never claim anything. You know what I mean? So any more questions? Because I know last time I didn't get to any of them, and I didn't.
There's only like 200 here. That's all.
Oh, really?
Just kidding. No. There's probably about 20 or 25.
Because last time, and I couldn't even see him till a couple of days ago. So.
Did it get dark where you were? Like, did the sun go behind a cloud or something?
It's been dark. It's been dark here for about 2 days.
Wow.
Too.
We've had some clouds too. Let's see. If you aren't, man, these people want what you have, Barry. If you aren't an experiencer, can you become one?
Yes. You know, honestly, we just talked about the intent of will. You can project that out there. If you really want to have contact and you're already into it, there's a chance that you are in contact. The person asking that, have you ever seen a UFO, even one time? And if so, I mean, were you just kind of like, whoa, it doesn't matter if nobody else saw it. If you saw it, that may have been a contact. A lot about this first contact is very personal. It's not going to be them pulling up over the White House. You know, one of the timelines I've seen is a few ships pulling up over major cities for just a minute or two. That'll change everything. Even to take off, we don't even need to see the occupants. You know what I mean? But it'll change this planet. But actually, in actuality, first contact is very subtle. It's happening on that quicker frequency. So if you've seen a UFO, I mean, and even lost a second or two, I would advise you undergo hypnotic regression and just see what your subconscious has recorded, what your superconsciousness has recorded. Because me, I'll be honest, Kelly, I thought a lot of my experiences were physical and conscious. So I thought I was Mr. Conscious Experiencer. Outside of those few blocks of missing times, equal 20 hours of time in 4 different experiences. But outside of that, I thought I really knew about everything else. I was unaware for what came out of those regressions. And I was thinking, okay, really, nothing's going to come out of this. I'm wasting my money. And not. Something totally different came out of it. So much so a few times that I went down to theta and I come out of the regression. I thought the hypnotist took my money. He didn't even take me. Just throw it away. Not talking about nothing. You know what I mean? And I said, frustrated. I said, I could have got my oil changed to that, or gone and got something to make me feel better. You know.
Or some sushi. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some sushi.
That's what I would spend it on, sushi.
No more albacore though with the radiation.
I know. I usually eat salmon.
But anyway, would be they go get that regression. You know what I mean? And check it out. See what kind of things you may have got. You may have had contact your whole life, and it's been happening in the dream cycle, and you can't remember it in the dreamscape. So don't underestimate that. That's how first contact kind of is. And, you know, like when I was dealing with some of this, I didn't think, well, my goodness, there's not a way that like a whole alliance of beings would stop what they're doing to communicate with just me, yeah, that's exactly what's going on for all experiencers. A lot of us don't underestimate. That's my advice on that.
Now, in the like your knowledge base of all of these contacts, abductions, and all of those, let me know kind of where this fits in, because I don't know what category to put this in. When you get outside of the omniverse and into the cell that we're inside of, this is away from our universe, obviously, the multiverse and the omniverse, and it's kind of like over here in the cell. It's way far away, and it's huge. You've got like a theater or a stadium. It looks like a combination between the two. So I don't quite know what to call it. But this is where they bring people to show them that video of, oh, look at your wonderful, lovely planet. Isn't it pretty? You're destroying it. You're destroying the environment. And then you see everything just being destroyed and polluted and nuclear bombs going off and destroying the planet. And it's like, be good to your planet. Don't do this anymore. I found the place where they take people and they show them this film. I found it, and it's out there, and they do not bring their bodies. But when you look around, like when I'm in kind of a state of remote viewing is the best way I can tell you. It is not astral travel. I don't bring any body with me. I don't bring my, spirit, soul, body, astral body, the unpronounceable bodies. I don't bring any of those with me. It's just my awareness. I'm just looking. But while I'm in that ship, I can feel. I can touch things, and I can feel. I can still pass through walls, but I can feel things, and I can at times get the sensation that I'm walking. So when I see these there watching the film, they are not. If you try to touch them, you can't. Your hand passes right through them. This is not their bodies that are there. There's no silver cord or anything attached to it. It's what I call their awareness. But when I go in and I'm like, well, how can you see their bodies? But when I do this a type of remote viewing, and I bring one of my clients along with me, and we're out there and we look at each other, well, most of the time they just look like a human in a human body. Some of the times when they look at me, they're like, Kelli, you're gold and white. I just look like this blob of gold and white when they see me. But sometimes they see me as like a human with hair and clothes and all. So where does this fit in the category of experience or abduction or whatever the categories are? Because this is outside the universe, Barry.
You've got two things. One thing I can say, and you have to try to fit this in the parameters. I can only describe this what I kind of know, experience. All right. On many of these ships, and I don't know, there's a chance that you might have been in what's called a mansion world also, which is
a mansion world?
Mansion world that we experience after death. Two ways to put that would be, one, I think in the Christian Bible, Jesus had said in his Father's house is many mansions. And then another way to look at it is the Bardo Thodol, Tibetan Book of the Dead, is actually called the Bardo Thodol. And Bardo is the several different astral levels you experience after death. All right? Like, for example, that may have been, and a lot of times the first mansion world that we are trying to, my understanding is.
I've got it. It's in this one, the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Yeah.
Bardo what?
Bardo Thodol, Bardothodol. Thodul, Bardo Thodol. But Bardo is the astral level after death. I think that put the other part. Okay, that's one part of that possible experience. But if you were in a ship and not like some type of a crystalline city, that first mansion world is often described as being a crystal city of some type, a huge city. Okay, there's also a chance you're on board a craft, and what you were near is the what they called it to me, the living light, because some of those engines.
Yes, there are those on the ship.
Yeah, and a lot of times they'll go up the middle of the ship, like a column. The column, like
yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. What they'll let a lot of experiencers do that I've seen, and mind you, I'm there physically having triple aphasia, trying not to throw up, but these individuals are there in their dream body, and they're partially phased out, okay? But they're being allowed to touch the living light. And when we touch the living light, since the engine itself and the ship itself is grown over a micro wormhole, a singularity, a black hole type. Okay, that is also the engine itself. This living light, when we touch it in our astral body, it turns into a wormhole and gives us access to the Akashic records, is what I hear that called so much, Akashic records, but actually the space and time knowledge of the universe. So when we actually touch that living light, that's an awakening for us in the dream body as well. So that may have been what you were experiencing also. That's kind of that's the two aspects I can come at it from. Yeah. Were you in a ship or were you in a city?
Oh, not because I purposefully take people here. we go together and we travel, and this is out of the omniverse. Like, these are not ships like above you in space or anything. And then there's the question, where do these ships come from? And that's what I didn't understand, that I didn't really see things in ships and traveling that way. That was, I don't even know how to explain this. Like, that's why it was like, I think they're all coming from our planet. That's where I got that sensation, is because these ships out here can function, and they don't need to hover over a city or do anything like that. They are out here. They can transport you without you even seeing one of those.
Yeah, you see, that's part of the thing, like I said, like when I had my first ship I was on, I mean, there's like, to be quite honest, there's no doubt those cats are not from Earth. There's no doubt about that. And I'd be honest with you, I couldn't accept either. Most of them didn't even have bodies. I couldn't accept that. I didn't have a frame of reference for that. You know what I mean? So that was another thing there. And when you speak of the multiverse, we think of these things as global theory is very real. And when you think the creator as a singularity, first creation was a wave of souls, immortal soul creators that are endowed with the creative force that the creator has. So that's, you know what I mean? It takes things a slightly different, weird way. For some reason I'm being asked to emphasize this.
Because the bubble theory, before you emphasize, oh my gosh, I want to know more about this, because when I take people on the journey and they're looking down at, this is a spoiler I'll let everybody know about, because I tell you about this along the journey. But you look at our universe, and the closer you are, it looks different. Then you get a little bit farther away, it looks a little more different. Then it looks, and some people even see a square when they look at our universe. They see a square, and then they get out a little farther. They go, oh, now it looks like either tornado shape or kind of like a cheerleader's megaphone, roughly shaped like that. Then they get out a little farther. They see all the universes. Then when they go a little bit farther back and look, they all turn into bubbles. All of the universes turn into bubbles. Then this huge bubble appears over the smaller bubbles. And when they expand again, they look in all of the other, and that's the multiverse. Then they see all the other multiverses in their bubbles. And then they go a little farther back and look, and this huge bubble goes over all of those. That's the omniverse. So I want to know about this bubble thing going on. What in the world? Why do the universes turn into bubbles?
Creator, it's the womb.
What the frack?
I can only tell you what I've seen. Okay, at the beginning, that I could see at the beginning, which was the creator as a singularity, and then through loneliness, first creation was the birth of immortal souls in a wave type of form, of immortal souls, and there were 7 waves I can see, but the first wave are creators. And when I say that, these are configurations of souls with the pattern and light that can make their own universes.
Okay, but I see us as those. So is that us?
Yeah, some of them can make several. And I think you start dealing with the deal where the first wave, you've got a spirit that was maybe making 2-3 universes and said, I can make more than the rest of y'all. And the creator's given so much of its creative power to us. I'm now the creator, and I think that threw us into the free will zone back here in this dimension. Anyway,
that makes sense and gives me more to chew on.
Well, here on this first wave of bubbles, I see thousands of souls. So that's thousands of creator souls that can create universes. So each one of those is going to be a bubble, a universe of its own. That takes us into bubble theory. You know what I'm saying? And I never knew that. I just jumped between bubbles.
It's not a theory. I've seen it. It's fact. I have seen it. It's not a theory.
When you go outside, okay, the major bubble you had said, you're talking about the creator at a whole out there encompassing everything, but there's something else too, okay, which takes us into something called the second law of thermodynamics, all right, which is entropy, all right. Even though the universe is expanding, there's still other energy that has to get out because it's not a closed system, all right. Mm-hmm. So when you get this entropy, I think is going through like wormholes, all right. And when that actually ends up, I think it's outside of everything we know as verse, multiverse, everything, where the creator is forming something else out there.
It's very interesting. This is kind of one of the things I do when I do my sessions. I give them kind of a map of where are you? And this is, don't take this literally. This is not literal, but I wanted to give you a little bit kind of a picture. You've got the cell. This is a human cell. I'm sorry, let me make it smaller. There we go. So you've got a human cell. Oops, I'm sorry. I don't know how to aim my camera. Think of this as like all the multiverses, and then you've got the omniverse. This is cut just to see the middle. This is like the nucleus, and this is, imagine this is the omniverse. And then you come out here, nothing looks like this at all, but you come out here into the cell, and it's about right here is where the ship is. The ship is located right here that I take them to. And the Godhead of the cell is located about right here. And there, so I don't know if that gives you a better map of like where the ship is that I'm talking about. That I take people, and inside that ship, it governs everything in the omniverse, like everything that exists from planets to universes, galaxies, just the multiverses are managed and governed in this ship. So I didn't explain the ship very well to you, but then you go outside of the cell and you can see the entity that we're inside of. And then it keeps going from there. Then you see the ship that entity is inside of, and then that's when I let them go. And I'm like, you go find the rest, because I've looked at all of it. But past then, I can't explain a thing. How it makes sense past that, I'm not sure.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, as far as universal construction, I was always looking for something similar to what I've been kind of presented. And in literature, I could never find it. The closest I could come was a book I don't particularly care for a lot, but it's got some useful information in it. That's the Uranta book. The part where it talks about, universal structure. They call it the master universe and the local universes, and they go on down from there. And the structure themselves being a spherical type of structure, quite accurate, I believe. They call them the 7 super universes. And they actually describe what they consider the journey of paradise for a mortal soul. It's interesting, You know
what? And the Bible talks about that, the 7 breaths of God, or I can't remember how it's worded in there, but it refers to 7 universes that God created. And it was in the 4th universe, or I can't remember. It's been a while since I picked up a Bible, but I remember reading about that. And like, I thought there was only 1 universe, and suddenly there's 7. And it's in the Bible.
Local universes inside of the super universe. So it's like they start breaking it down so much that it goes almost infinitesimal, which would appear to be just on the physical level. So that just on the physical level, that's going to go into the quantum levels. That's infinitesimal. It has to be. You know what I mean? And us being beings constructed of beginning and endings, everything in this reality is beginning and endings. It's very hard to even conceive of a being, an entity that has no beginning and ending, the real alpha and the omega. It blows us away just to even try to conceive that, let alone what's outside of this little bubble we live in.
I redrew this because I suck at drawing, but would something look kind of like this? Something that has no beginning and has no end and is self-sustaining? Just ignore the double loops, because I had to keep drawing it over and over until I got the right size. So just pretend like it's one line that's doing that.
I don't know. That was beyond me. You go into the mathematicals there, and I'm terrible at math.
Because I mean, I went and I was like, okay, what is past this Godhead? What is past this Godhead? And then I set my intentions to go to what some people would describe as God, you know, the it, which we all are God, essentially. Not God in that we are all source, because we're not. Ultimately, when you get way out there, yes, we are. But when you look at it a little closer, no, we are separate from source. So we are not one with this, but we are one. So that's what I set my mind at, to find God, I guess. And this is what I saw when I got there. And there was nothing else past it. That was it.
Well, it's pure consciousness. So, I mean, you're not going to see the creation you're probably looking to see. You sound like you're looking for physical manifestation.
Not as much physical, but what is this thing that governs everything? What is this one thing that exists? And
the creator, Havana, would be definitely pure God consciousness, at which points we would have no individuality anyway. Individuality anyway. You know what I'm saying? And I can only speak like, you know, like something about the Bardo, like someone's going to kind of tie this together for the people who like to follow Paramahansa Yogananda. His teacher, Sri Yukteswar, okay, in the book, The Autobiography of a Yogi, towards the end of it, Yukteswar had died, but he came back and had talked to Paramahansa. And when he showed up, he had some glitter around him and stuff, but he was saying, I'm come from this level of the Bardo, which would be a certain level he got to due to his spirituality here on earth. He said, I was able to skip certain levels. I believe he's trying to tell Paramahansa how to go directly to the creator. You know what I'm saying?
And yeah, that's what I'm on, because it's like people connect to source, and it's like, oh, we got a great connection there. That's great, but there's stuff beyond source. And then if you connect to the Godhead of the cell, well, there's something bigger than that. So that's what I was searching for. What can I connect to escape everything?
You know, let me ask you a question. We both died. We both have died. How far into the death process do you feel you went?
I don't know about levels or layers or anything, but it was enough to understand everything that was in this universe. I understood everything of the universe. That's how far I got. Excuse me. I did not go through the tunnel, because there was a blue being, just come here. This is the way to go, just directing me into the tunnel. And I spent so much time looking at shiny things that I think I woke up almost completely before I got into the tunnel. And that's where they went wrong.
Oh, the blue guy. Okay. I forgot you told me you saw the blue guy. So he's trying to get you away from where you were going. Do you feel the blue guy was a deceiver?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, now, he's trying to get me into that involuntary reincarnation.
That's something you didn't say our last show. I asked you because I don't think we got to. I asked you. I can't remember the guy's name. We're not going to say his name, but he was the hospice guy. And I've heard other hospice people say about that they've seen a blue guy, or several patients have mentioned seeing a blue guy. And the blue man, I think is what they're called.
He's every single one of them except for one that saw a red guy. And then he prayed with him. The red guy went away. The blue guy came.
Well, you know what's coming to my mind here? The red and blue Kachina, which is the Hopi prophecy. That's weird. That's the dancing and the red star. That's odd.
You know that the Katy Perry thing with the ancient Egypt, where they have the men in blue paint, and of course they have Nike tennis shoes on or whatever, advertising that, but they've got blue paint representing blue people, and then there's one king or whatever his title is that comes to woo her and give her stuff to try and woo her, and his guys are all red. So I just what is that? Is that Dark Horse?
I don't even know much about Katy Perry. I'm not very hip. Doesn't take much to expose my ignorance.
Oh, it is Katy Perry. So yeah, okay, I've got the volume down. Okay, here I'll just kind of show you like snippets. Here is some king, trying to woo her, like, oh, woo woo. Here's I have a bunch of stuff. Take my stuff. But check it out. Here's the blue guy. There's a little cat dancing. Sorry, we have cat dancing here. Oh, I don't know why it's not getting bigger. anyway, so they continue to come with the blue guy. See, here's a blue guy right here. Oops, sorry. That was Katie's head. And here's the blue guy, his legs. And then when one of them comes, she turns him into like a dog or something. Let me try to go forward. Why can't I go forward? Oh, I'm sorry. I have to make it regular size or it doesn't function properly. Okay, here's the red ones. See, now here's the red ones. Katy Perry pole dancing. And then you got the pyramid. Ta-da! And then the capstone is red. Let's see if they show them again. Now here's the blue guys dancing. And let's see if you see the red guys again.
The caricature here is torturous. It's torturous. Please.
Oh, I know. This is hard to watch.
Please,
Here they are. See the red guys right there?
Oh.
I know. Yeah, I'm sorry, they're not going to show the red guys very well. I only saw them in like one video. But yeah, this is where you saw them again off to the side. This is kind of where it was interesting, and it was like, okay, he saw one red guy, and all of them were blue, and I saw a blue guy when I died. There's got to be, if this isn't a Katy Perry video, then it does exist, and there's something to it. I don't know what there is to it, but there is something to it.
What did the blue guy look like to you?
Excuse me. It didn't look like that, obviously, but it was humanoid in that it had a head, arms, and legs. And I didn't see even muscles or anything like that. I'm not saying they were skinny without muscles, but I didn't see definition. It was just, a neon sign that glows so much that if you had muscles and you were made out of neon and it glowed, you wouldn't see the muscles. It would just, the glow would come out. There was no facial features, no hair, anything. It was just like a head and painted on eyes, like with white paint, looked like Disney character eyes.
Yeah, that sounds, I mean, what kind of vibe did you get from it?
Well, at the time I wasn't paying attention because I was looking at shiny stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
But I was kind of thinking, excuse me, I'm outside of my body. I know how the universe works. Why is someone directing me into a tunnel? Is kind of the thoughts I was having. Why do you have to do that? That doesn't make any sense, because if I know everything and I know where to go, why do you have to tell me where to go?
Exactly. Exactly. That's not. Yeah, that's the one. Definitely, probably most likely a deceiver. And because I wondered, because a lot of people said, well, they come as your loved ones. I've assisted a couple people in crossing over, and when I saw those beings that came for them were not deceivers. You know what I mean? But there's that time, like when we wake up from sleep, you get a real deep sleep here. You wake up, I mean, you're out of it for like a minute or so. If we really just come together, you get on with your day. You know what I mean? But I think in that minute, it takes us to kind of wake up upon the death process. It's a lot like that, like waking up before our own guides and guardians can get to us. I think these deceivers come really quick and try to get you, hey, come this way, do this, do that. And then you've got a great mission back on Earth, but you can't remember what that is either. Now go on back.
Exactly. And what about these low? Because I thought about that long and hard. It's like, why was my experience so much different than all these other people that had these experiences? Because the ones that saw, I saw my loved one, I saw Jesus, I saw Buddha, I saw whatever. They see things, they come back and they're like, I saw this stuff in my loved ones. And so I see the blue guy, and I don't know, there's got to be someone else out there that saw the blue guy and came back besides me. But everyone I talk to, when they see the blue guy, they never come back. So I think I might have touched on something that other people might not have touched on. But these relatives that are there, I'm not saying they're not their relatives, but are they the relatives that have been captured with that soul catcher or whatever you want to call it? And they've got your family held hostage there. And so they try to convince you to go into it.
That's the question. I mean, I would hope not. You know what I mean? The ones that I saw, I mean, I think that net only goes so far, and then it's broken by the higher evolution. You know what I'm saying? And I think that part of that net was even unknown to them until higher spirit got caught in it. And I was saying, where's he at? Why did he not report back to Galactic Central, to headquarters? He never came back. And then somebody go to get him. Look at him. Who the heck are you? Don't you know who the own spirits are? You know what I mean? So that type of a deal there. Oh my God, and we think about the war we always hear between dark and light, but you know, the insidious ways that darkness would use to get around light, it's not going to be these what do you call it, arrows of light. It's not going to be that. It's subtle things like that somebody that's really on the love frequency of the creator wouldn't even be thinking about. Tagging immortal souls, that's not something, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I mean, it's excuse me, I'm finding out the more you discover, the more questions you have after that. I can see why people dive into religion and stuff that tells them what to think, because this goes way, way out there. And once you figure it out and you do something else, it undoes everything you just learned. Oh, I think Barry's frozen. Oh no, Barry. Oh, I think you're back. Oh, you froze. You froze for a second there.
I could do that, like do the robot. Am I frozen now?
You're frozen, then you're not. Then you're frozen, then you're not.
Again, for real? Hey, check it out though. You know, when I died, I saw two things. One was what we would definitely call super angels, but I don't think that archangels, that doesn't really do them justice. I think there are more than that. All right. The next thing is I saw loved ones. I saw my grandmother. I saw my uncle who had just passed a few days before, before I had this accident, and my grandmother's best friend. They were all there, but it wasn't like I was in some vision. It's as real as I was talking to you right now. Just some certain things were wrong in the location we were at, but I couldn't discern that at the time. I'm too busy engaging. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We'll say this. They did not feel trapped. And my grandmother never spoke to me. My uncle did several times. I'd be there with them. He pointed to my grandmother and her friend. Son, there's nothing wrong with me at all. I'm going like this, slapping myself. He goes, man, if you get hurt like you just did again, another accident like that, you'll be here with us.
Mm-hmm.
He looked at me, he said, you just can't remember it. And he had on these double overalls with these Birkenstocks. And it was just a cheesy outfit, man. I said, why you that outfit sucks, man. Why are you dressed like that? And he kind of looked at this tree, he looked back at me, he goes, B, that's what they all call me, B. I crossed over. You just can't remember that right now either. You know, and he said something else that scared me that made me jump back. And I can't remember what that was, but I came up in my rehab bed. Oh, you know, trying to get out of the fall risk bed I was in because I was locked in there. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was the type of deal. So I will say they didn't feel like they were trapped. Now, my grandmother, when I said, hey, there's nothing wrong with me, I looked at my grandma and said, Grandma, tell him that he's crazy. And she never says anything. She just looks at me, and her eyes are kind of blinking like an owl. You know what I mean? Now, my grandmother had been dead almost 30 years, as were my uncle just a few days. So my question is, was my uncle less over across the abyss, less dimensionally out of sync with us? He was able to still communicate with me that way. And I was only halfway there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Just a question.
Yeah, I don't have it figured out, but there's more. If there's a question, something's not right. Because when you touch something that's the truth, it's like, you just know. But there's something about all of this death stuff and then relatives and all that. I can't put my finger on it, but something's not right. And I can't figure it out yet.
I don't know either. I mean, I can only say that I think that, you know, it's just, you have to use discernment. Like I said before, you know, it's the difference in light, the light of the sun and the light of the moon. I know that sun of the light, it's warm, it's a life-giving sun, a life-giving light. That light of the moon is cold. That's when most plants are photosynthesizing. They're not blooming in the moonlight. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's kind of where you've got to know the difference in your light and use your discernment and try to gain that much awareness where you've got this total cognitive perception in this body now. Stop looking out of a glass darkly. Try to see the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Someone just said, wow, the only times this live feed has cut off so far was when I was asking my question. Dark forces? So I guess we got an interruption somehow.
You were asking yours? Oh, gotcha. I think this is very blessed this time. No helicopters. I mean, the last time we were sitting here
Oh
talking,
God, that was a nightmare.
you jump out of the seat, you say, I'm gonna record it, and your seat's still spinning around, and I'm just kind of sitting there. Like, I guess I'll keep talking to everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry.
That was an interesting deal, man.
It's you, Barry. Make yourself at home. I'll be right back.
I was tripping. I did one with Peter and James Gillian about last week, and weird helicopters were going on, but Peter, I guess, always has that or something. So I was like, man, that's not really something I deal with a lot here, and I'm in the air capital. I've been blessed not have to worry so far, but like, man, and my brother hears a helicopter. He's outside looking, got his phone out. It was just the medical people. Anyway.
That's funny. We've had it so much. It's like, what's going on? Yeah, we're about to run out of time, but we've got a question. It's got like 12 pluses on there. And I don't even know if you know the answer to this or not. What is the importance of the alignment of the planets over the next 10 days? Have you even heard about that? I just saw it yesterday on a meme.
Venus and everything's lining up. As far as I know, it's just kind of unusual, but I don't kind of correlate that as much as what the influence of the magnetic alignment has on people, how people start acting so damn. That's kind of what I notice more than anything. That's what it means to me more. But I'm not especially good with astrophysics positions in that way and star alignment in that way.
I'm not either, but just enough to know that there is a huge influence that it has, but you don't have to participate is a good way of putting it. You don't have to participate in it, but there are ones that use these influences to their advantage, and they actually make things happen during these periods of time where there are alignments. The ones that are trying to control our planet.
Yes. Well, there are those beings that are gauging and keeping records on how other species deal with disaster.
Interesting.
One here that I think is, there's a book. In fact, it's on my YouTube channel. It's the Russian alien racist book. Very interesting. That was found by a gentleman in a box. They're helping somebody's dad move, and it's very interesting though. In there's a race that's called it almost sounds like Tasmanian. Tasmania, Tasyama, I think. But anyway, describes a certain species that was responsible for, they said, the Titanic sinking.
Mm-hmm.
And said that if they were doing, they're trying to gauge how humans respond to catastrophe. That's all they do is go around to different planets and try to start catastrophe. So
nice, very nice.
Actually,
lovely.
Yeah.
I'll be looking at my window today.
That's a very interesting document there, actually.
Wow. Gosh. There's just, oh my gosh, there's no end to it. Just no end.
Not at all. Not at all. When I like being Mana, and that's when we did the last show, I showed Mana, and I got more responses about him, or her actually, I guess, than I did any other picture I showed. He said he had told me from the multiverse. But being that that's an amphibious being, okay, I didn't even know what that meant, coming from an aquatic world. What? An aquatic world in the multiverse? How does that work? But my mind wasn't thinking like that.
Well, that made sense because I have seen beings like that. And I think I might have even commented on your Facebook that I see beings outside of the omniverse and outside of the multiverse that look strange like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And sometimes they told me, like Xandar, the other one I showed, he had kind of implied that that's the way his form was a million years ago. He's just
so they're just basically just a projected image you're seeing.
Yeah, and some of them stay on the ships because although they don't have physical bodies as receptacles for their awareness, they still the ship protects them environmentally and vibrationally, so they don't come off of it very much and into our density here because they're like fish out of water. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That might explain why when you get outside of the cell that we're in, that concept of the cell, and then you see the entity outside of that, why isn't he walking down the street? Why isn't he in a building or outside under a tree. You know, why is he in a ship?
Or is it all-encompassing consciousness that is not the separate things we think it is? You know what I mean? When you start getting like that, like, I'd be honest, when the insectoid told me the 16th dimension, I was just a kid, but I busted this one out. There are only 4 dimensions. You know, I tried all that, and I couldn't even conceive of 16 dimensions. And even later on, when I started getting into quantum physics, they still weren't going that high with the amount of, not at that point. So I didn't know what that meant. I mean, it's leading me to things. They're using words like, instead of multiverse, they're saying e-space. That led me into Doctor Who. He took the TARDIS into something called e-space. I was getting older then. That's the next time I finally heard it again. They were calling the exo-space-time continuum. But now you and I would call that the multiverse.
Okay.
But they were saying it a lot, e-space, e-space. Well, what does that mean? Beyond the e-space. And now they're saying things like beyond nanospace. You know what I mean? Just they're since it's all telepathic, a lot of that is changed.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It all functions on thought. A lot of people that I take on this adventure, when they see the entity that we're inside of, a lot of them that look at it, they go, "It's me." And then I have them change their thoughts, and the entity changes when they change their thoughts. But
why do you think they say it's them? Why do you think that is? Is it because they're an immortal soul, seeing themselves and seeing their own creation, looking
that
back on
entity? We've been inside this entity the whole time. It's not like it's moved or changed or anything like that. We've been inside it the whole time. This is just basically the oneness of we all are God. I mean, this is just basically God having an experience, but on a larger scale than what we're used to hearing. This isn't just the universe.
Well, we're all created in God's image. That's the real image. It's not this. It's not the physical body at all.
And it's like God is us. I mean, all of us are God. The planets, us, everything that exists is this ultimate. When I use the word you guys don't hear me use the word God ever. I use source or the light, things like that. But I'm using the word God. I feel like, and I don't know, I'm going to chew on it for a while, but I feel like I found God, which is basically all of us in one thing. That to me looks like a triangle with loops.
Yeah, you know, and that's just terminology. People, I hear so much that now. Don't call it God. Call it Creator. Don't call it Creator. Call it Allah. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And you know, people even kill you because their God is better than yours. Are you kidding me? That is so primitive. There's a show when I was a kid, Captain Caveman. That's what this is, man. That's real. It's not maybe Space Ghost. It's something weird.
I love it. I love it.
Herculoids, you know, good Lord, man.
Oh my goodness. So anything you want to say before we go?
I just want to just thank everybody. I'll be honest, I didn't think that I would ever be on this show again. And the fact that I've been requesting a few different shows, I have nothing to sell. I could be a delusional liar and a whole bunch of other things, but so many people are looking for answers and resonating with different people right now. It's just been a blessing. I thank you for giving me the chance to help anybody. You know, this isn't like getting a psychology degree. I just help people in that way, but this is different. It's more encompassing, it's more spiritual, and it's what the Creator wants more. I don't need to hit my head again and get another brain injury and go in a coma for 3 weeks and forget who I am for 2 months to go through that again to know I'm supposed to be talking now. You know what I'm saying? If it was not for that accident, I would not be talking now. I will tell you that. If I had not died, forget that.
Yeah. Oh, same here. You would be hearing this out of Kelly's mouth if I hadn't died. I would have been still living in fear of what people would think of me.
Yeah. You know, absolutely. And, you know, if you're having contact or whatever, you see disincarnate people. You know what I mean? Or like Sixth Sense. What do we have to say? I see stupid people. No, they're stupid. They think they're smart. No, just kidding.
Here's your sign.
And so many people right now that are aware, you know, they're sending me private messages, and I really like it. I've fallen behind a lot or when my box always says I'm
Yeah, is when you start falling behind is when you have to kind of change things again. And I'm gonna need to hire a social media manager at this point because I can't keep up with my Facebook and everything.
There's no way. That's crazy.
Yeah, there's probably about 3,000 messages there that I can't get to. I can't get to them physically. I just don't have enough time. And people are like, you didn't write me back. You know, I don't even have time to go to the bathroom.
I didn't even know about YouTube. You know, my friend that teach me how to upload and stuff. I mean, I was surprised how backwards I truly was. Almost geeky. I
love it. I think the ones that are not so techie are actually the smart ones. No, not talking about you guys. Not talking about you guys. No, but the ones that get really, really smart with the stuff inside the matrix tend to not know a whole lot about what's outside the matrix. That's what I've said. Is that a better way to word it? They're smarter. Because you can. It doesn't matter like what you do. You're just as smart as you are. But it's what do you expose yourself to? Do you expose yourself with stuff in the matrix and keep yourself locked in the matrix real hard? Or do you go, okay, I know enough about that to know how to function in this 3D thing because that's part of the fun of it. But then I'm going to go out here and find out how things actually work.
You know, and that's you know, a lot of that is in terms of perception and awareness. It's just expanding your perception. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key to it. Is what things can we do to really break this, as you call it, the matrix, to break the mold of this perception to where we can perceive more and beyond the normal boundaries. And that starts with the things like learning about the pineal gland, how to still the eyes, how to stop the internal dialogue, not talk to yourself when you're meditating. That is the major thing that holds us back. If you can learn how to not talk to yourself, you become just like that. You know what I mean? And
that's cool.
I can't say it, but it's hard as heck to do. I have struggled with it for years. Even shutting it off for just a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But once you do it, everything changed. You can merge with the creator then directly.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, Barry, so much for coming on here again. And at their requests, they have mega requested you, and they pester the crap out of me to get you back on. I love it. I love it.
Thank you all. That's really cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you want Barry to come back, let us know in the comments. And you can find Barry on, oh crap, what was that night? My computer went down. Night Cloud.
Yeah, just
on YouTube. Just put in like Night Cloud, one word. I did too. Night Cloud. Otherwise, you're gonna get Katy Perry.
Hey, hit me on Facebook too. I accept requests as long as I'm a little bit behind. As long as they don't look like demonic or anything. You normally try to talk to people a little bit.
That's cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. We had a wonderful time. I love you so much. And I guess we'll see you on the next video. Bye.